It's delicious.
It's a good day. It's a party week.
In fact, yeah, here it is.
I don't need to get on that at all.
Okay.
I'm good, yeah. I'm gonna wait 2 minutes.
Now let's go.
Alright.
Well, actually, I think, yeah, there it is. There we go. Let's do it.
Well, I hope they're ready, because we're gonna start anyway. Alright guys, my name is Don, Too Fast, this is Justin, Too Furious, and we're the Rad Zen Bros. We have an awesome talk planned for you guys today on hotel security, why that's important, you know. I feel like, you know, when you go into a hotel, you know, you just automatically assume that what you're going into has been tested, that you're safe, you can leave stuff in your room, you know, you can do all these things. And while that may be true for some of them, the security, from what we found, is somewhat an illusion in some of them as well. So this story covers a couple different aspects that we're going to go into. A little bit about myself. I do offensive security, red teaming. Occasionally I make questionable decisions like co-piloting this talk. This isn't going to be like a normal talk. You guys have probably heard of one of these things. So you don't really want to miss any of it. This is Justin. If you guys don't know Justin or have never met Justin, in regards to this talk, we'll just assume he's an agent of chaos that has an endless Marriott rewards account, and he's on a mission from God to solve homelessness. I think that's a good way to describe this. Before we start, is there any Marriott personnel in here? No? Good. Guards, take the boy. Take away the Marriott person. Nah, just kidding. I don't think that would be an issue anyway. So this talk is called A Hotel No, and that kind of undersells the whole idea. This really the base of this is about a guy, Justin, originally got stuck in an elevator for 6 hours, and he decided the appropriate response was to wage like a one-man physical attack against Marriott, and somewhere along the line really ended up solving something or putting a dent in something that's really a bigger problem than the issue we're talking about, was homelessness. And that one person had been, he went from homeless to homeowner in under 10 months. You know, like we kind of talked about the title here. So in this talk, you're gonna hear there's red teaming, we got key card cloning, there's a small CrowdStrike cameo in there, and really just a genuine life-changing outcome that really, you know, none of us saw coming. So again, you know, strap in your seats. We got something good for you guys today, and Justin's going to start this off and tell you all how this thing started.
Thank you, Don. Thank you. Appreciate y'all being here. Last time I gave this talk was last summer at BSides Vegas as a DEF CON Sky Talk. There are things that I said there that I won't say here, but there's new content that's worth mentioning since then. This whole campaign started March 13th, 2024. It ended December 30th, 2024. The result was this homeless man I met, Earl Jones. He actually he got a job at Apple and became a homeowner after being homeless for 17 years, and he actually made money. I'm gonna tell you how this happened. As Don alluded to, February 27th, 2023, I'm in College Park, Maryland. There's a place literally called the Hotel. I'm in an elevator, and the maintenance alarm's going off. Nobody came. I'm literally stuck in an elevator. The computer's not working. I'm calling 911, EMS. Where are you at? The hotel. What hotel? The hotel. Like, they literally could not triangulate my position. My phone wasn't working. I passed out at one point. I woke up at 1:31 p.m. Nobody was there. The management from the hotel came in and they kicked me out because they were so embarrassed they couldn't go stealing the gift shop. Well, next week, College Park EMS, they found me, sorry. College Park EMS calls, they said, this is the worst blunder in our history. We think you should sue them, we have a multi-million-dollar case. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna take the high road. Funny thing about this is, I have videos online in this playlist. After being stuck there, I ended up in DC, and I walked back on foot, And when I went back to the hotel to get my stuff, because I was kicked out, I literally got stuck again for 57 minutes. I have it on video. So like, and then finally I ended up on the third floor. I ended up in the back area with the staff, and I'm walking with like a Ratatouille chef hat on and pushing a cart. And then the College Park police came out. There's 7 of them. They're like, "Where have you been? We've been looking for you." I'm like, "Where the fuck have you been? I've been here since 14 hours. The SLA, yeah, not 5 nines. I'll say that much. If this was an actual incident." So I was furious at this point. You know, Die Hard. John McClane had a bad day. Mine was pretty damn bad too. So after that, I don't believe in going toe to toe with idiots because they'll be with experiences, Mark Twain says. I'm like, how do I use this experience to help someone? And I had a fire in me that was stoked that I'm like, I'm gonna learn everything I can about hotels. I'm gonna completely exploit and compromise them because they hold the secret and the answer to a lot of these problems that we're dealing with in 2026. Nobody should be homeless at all. In fact, this hotel where I stayed at, 464 rooms, on average 87 are vacant per night. There are, at the time, 273 homeless people in College Park, Maryland. That hotel alone could solve that problem. So it's not about the money, it's the message. And I've always had a soft spot in my heart because at the end of the day, all it takes is one bad event for one of us to be homeless, right? You know, I've almost been there. Let's do this. And I have a bunch of YouTube videos. They're not all working in their edit, but you can catch them after this in the playlist. I actually just a few hours ago went to the JW Marriott in Charlotte and pwned it. I got into the room. Yeah, because it made let me in. I said, "Oh shit, I wasn't supposed to check out yet." I walked right in. Anyway, so the first attempt here was a little bit wild. I was pissed off after this. It was Pi Day 2023. I'm in Richmond, where Donna and I live. It was a really cold day, and I'm like, I'm not gonna deal with this. I went and I booked 2 different rooms at the Richmond Marriott, and I cloned 37 key cards. Just started handing them out to people. Next thing you know, and I'm not there, there's people walking through the door. I walk in, the manager escorts me up to 256, and I find that 2 Richmond police officers, the head of security, and they're in the room and they're like, "Well, we could remote homelessness, but blah, blah, blah." I'm like, "No, you fucking don't. You're virtue signaling. You don't care at all." The officers are actually like, "Wow, this is awesome. How'd you do it?" I was like, "Well, it's using this basic bitch, My Fair Classic thing. You can clone it, whatever." And then I left. I walked out, right? That was buckshot. Didn't really work. Whoops. The funny thing is, too, on that, my friend Cassandra, she worked at the Starbucks attached there. I didn't know her till a year later. She's like, "I was there that day. I saw shit go down." Like, she literally saw all this happening, so. And then, yeah, in the words of my dad, Jay Bird, he would have been proud. He has a saying, he's like, "I put my pants on the same way he does, one leg at a time, kiss my black ass." So I was pretty proud of that fact, and like I said, I went in there and I was like, "You guys don't care, this is proof of concept." They let all the homeless people out on the street. Like after that, they kicked everyone out. So it's like, okay, you guys really care. Oh, no, not night, there were 78 rooms.
Yeah, I also want to say, as somebody who was working with him on that, leading up to that, that was strictly something he was there for, but talking to him this whole time, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to book some room for some friends. Didn't mention that it was 37 people that were on the street that were about to be homeless. And by the time we really found out what the whole scope was of this whole thing, security was already involved. It was already a whole big thing, but it was really, in the end, it was, serving a public good. It was cold outside. It was this time of winter that you didn't really want to be there, so this was just something that, seemed right at the time.
Yep. So then the next 6 months, I got obsessed with security. I learned everything I possibly could. I went back to College Park. There was only one hotel I was allowed back into, the College Park Marriott. It's actually a special place in my heart because this is when it all started. And it was October 23rd. By the time I had learned, I'd been studying, the movement of staff, the guards, I'd be understanding cameras, because you can learn a lot about a company without even touching the network, right? Passive enumeration, recon, posting. I knew exactly who the CEO was, Anthony Capiano. I knew his assistant, Rachel McDowd. I knew the manager of this College Park Marriott, this guy, Jay. And I talked to him, and I was like, "Hey," and also I had gotten good with them because I was working for another company that tried to let me go last minute, and I booked, I ended up spending $42,000, so they gave me all the staff $1,000 tips, so it's my, black ass. Anyway, So I go and I meet Jay, and I was like, have you ever done any sort of security? Like, there were probably people that have been living in this hotel for years and wouldn't know. I was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm gonna go take my GoPro, and I'm gonna show you in like 10 minutes. So I go, and I literally just did this last week too. I go to the 5th floor. The College Park Marriott has 2 different buildings, A and B. There's 212 rooms in each, 424 rooms. And going to the 5th floor, if you ever read How I Robbed Banks by Freaky Clown, it talks about the psychology of being up high and how people look at you as if you have a position of power, but also for fire code, it's way easier to go down than up, so you want to start at the top. I go to a maid, I start talking to her, sweet talking to her, like, hey, how you doing, whatever. She holds her key card up to the door, and I have this Proxmark 3 in my backpack. I hold it up there, and I was like, look, it's not working, ma'am. And it closes her card, she has a skeleton key. It gets you in every single room. And I was like, oh, sorry, my laptop's not in there. So this is the presidential suite, right? I then walk down to the 4th floor, each floor, I go into room 3 through 1, I go back to the 5th. 11 minutes, 37 seconds pass, and I go show this video to Jay, manager, and his gears are just turning. He's just like, he can't talk. He's like, he said at one point, he says, oh my shit. And I'm like, and so after that, it stoked in him a desire to try and fix Marriott, because Jay was a Marriott employee for 17 years. He didn't know really anything about security, and over the next couple months, he sort of I pushed him through Marriott, he pulled me through. He's like, I want you to do a pilot, because I have a very powerful friend at Marriott, that if he sees this, he's going to invest money, and he's going to help fix Marriott security. And I said, hold up, you really can't fix Marriott security, and the reason is, Marriott has 9,000 properties, but they only manage about 48. The rest of them are franchisees, management. You can't just say, here's how do security. There's also 33 properties, they're all different. Residence Inn, Element, Fairfield Inn, Sheraton, you name it. And an interesting stat that I'll allude to later is the fact that with hotels, as prestige goes up, security goes down. The easiest hotels to break into are the Ritz-Carlton, the Sheraton, the St. Regis, all the ones. So they assume that if you have money, you're not a threat. They obviously haven't met me. So at that point, I was going full-on guerrilla warfare, right? I'm like, I'm gonna go method man with the red man. So what I started to do at these various hotels is I'd book 404 as a joke, like not found, I'm not actually registered in the room. And then I'd use that as a launch point to the rest of the hotel, and I'd literally take it over. I'd start booking every adjacent room, and anyway, let me get to that, I'm gonna hit myself. But with Recon, right, OSINT, open source intelligence, you can learn so much about a company. You go on Spokio, you run Spiderfoot, whatever, you aggregate stuff, you can figure out all kinds of stuff. And then you kind of go through the campaign. You get initial access, which is actually the most fun. And then you do enumeration, it's like running Nmath, right? And then you do lateral movement, you find vulnerabilities. Then you do privilege escalation, you get into better rooms. Then you live off the land, you literally eat all the food. You go to the M Club, and this is what Earl did. Then you find persistence, there's some really fun tricks. My favorite is the wedge trick. Also, Freaky Clown came up with the pen trick, and I have videos to demonstrate this. In fact, there's a couple hotel rooms here that are currently wedged, so I'm gonna go to them later, check it out. Observe and report, that's the purpose for the meta glasses, the GoPro. I have stuff on camera that I have done that's wild. I ran through the top floor of the Ritz-Carlton with a fire extinguisher. It's because I needed initial access. Who's gonna stop a guy with a fire extinguisher? No one, right? And then educate and remediate. So a lot of what happened from this was providing like a dossier on how you fix security, like fix, right? There's a playbook on this is what good looks like. They can follow it or they can't, but the long and short of it is you wanna this is the value of a pen test, red team. It's not the work. It's like, well, lols, I hacked them. No, it's like, here's what you need to fix. Here's how you fix your key cards. Here's how you actually have better logging and monitoring. The problem is though, or the reality is physical security is really hard, right? And if you look at a hotel, it's not actually like it's a physical structure, but it's actually all digital systems. Other than locks, cameras are digital, access control systems are digital, etc. And if you get physical access to a digital system, you can completely override it. This is what they talk about, James Kim in the Hacker Playbook 3, about how physical security is like an onside kick. It doesn't always go well, but when it does, you get a huge advantage. And so this is why I love physical security, especially in the context of a hotel.
I also want to talk about too for a second, having Marriott kind of involved in this change the game. The original approach was, there's a need for somebody to do something about the situation in the public. And And the first, response to that was a little bit chaotic, right? Just like kind of pulling keys, handing out to people, blah, blah, blah. After getting Marriott involved in this, it kind of started treating it more like an actual red team engagement. All right, we're going to document this stuff. We're going to present some solutions. We're going to go through this and really have a good solution for somebody who may not understand this stuff otherwise. And it just changed the game for us.
Yep. And so, establishing initial access, there's a lot of ways to go at this. I actually just did this a couple days ago at the Hilton. I'm not really contracted by the Hilton, but fuck it. I went in there and I lived in Richmond at the condos attached to the Hilton. I walked up to a maid, I was like, ma'am, I have early check-in. I boxed her off. I tried to clone her key card, but he uses ultralight C, so you can't just do it trivially. You have to sit between the readers. So I just took her card, I just ran with it. I ended up bouncing between multiple hotels, and let's just say some TVs went missing. So, anyway. And so, there's a lot of other ways though. Once you get initial access, it can be legitimate. You can book a room. There's a lot of features with Marriott. If you end up booking a room for 33 days, because 33 is the magic number, you end up keeping that room for perpetuity. So I booked 404 and I keep booking it. And as a result of my status with Ambassador, I'm able to rebook it with points, and I never paid for the room. I actually was making money. And so that's the insider access that I'll get to being part of Marriott. And there's a lot of legitimate ways without you even working for Marriott to book rooms. For example, if you book a rate at the highest prepaid rate using a virtual card with privacy.com, you'll end up getting the points for that, even if they downgrade you and they're like, well, we can't charge you. So if you go get the AAA rate, which is say tonight at the Spring Hill Suites we're at, it's 170, whereas the prepaid executive thing's 320. They'll give you the points for 320 and not 170. And the way points work at Marriott is 100 points is about $1. And so you can kind of convert points, you can move points through point arbitrage from hotels to airlines back to Hertz. There's a really funny bug in that feature where if you move between Marriott to United back to Hertz, you get 3x points just by doing that for no reason. So, cool. Let's do it. It seems videos aren't working. Anyway, enumeration. While you're there, once you have access, then you can really start to just pile drive the hotel. So you just start going around to the conference rooms. You're more. You know how it is, when an APT is embedded and they're there and they're in the network and entrenched, that's when you can start to scan when you're internal. So it's a difference between passive and active recon. And so you feel more comfortable doing this, I guess, as a non-outsider. It's having legitimate access to the systems of the company, right? So you're no longer doing a phishing email, you can now do Slack phishing, which is way more effective, for example. Because you look like you're supposed to be there, but you're not. Recon, sorry, it's a little louder. And then lateral movement, like I said, it's really fun when you're there. You can pivot, you can get more rooms. The best tricks that always work for access, early check-in, late check-out. 99% of the time you walk up to a maid and you act like you're supposed to be there, they'll let you right in. And then when you're in, I have this thing called the 11 p.m. checkout bug, where if you're in a room for a day, you can go and rebook that room using a virtual card, and they'll come around and be like, oh, you're not supposed to be there at 12. You say, no, I'm good for it. It won't be until 11 that they actually try to charge the room, so you can stay there literally until the next day. And that's what I've done. You can, without even wedging the door open or doing the pen trick. So that's pretty fun. And then, enter the damn dungeon, fuck yeah. And then at that point, it's the whole living off the land, like they talk about, in the windows where you're just you're sitting there and you're blending in with normal activity. And in the actual living off the land, in the context of this with Earl Jones, was the M Club access. So when you're a platinum member with 50 nights, or you can shortcut it with this service called Founders Card that gives you 15, you get access to all the lounges. The lounges are 3 hots and a cot, as my dad Jaber would say. And so you get breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you get alcohol, you can go in there, it's a great benefit, and it just requires you to be a platinum member or titanium or ambassador, which is the highest tier, which is what I had. No longer have because I broke it in half and it doesn't exist anymore. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But these only exist at the 4 and 5 star hotels: Sheraton, Ritz-Carlton, St. Regis, the flagship Marriotts, JW Marriott, etc. They're really cool. You can just go there and live there, honestly. I mean, that's what Earl ended up doing. He didn't even spend a whole lot of time in the room. He would either be on the streets because he was homeless for so long, or he'd be in the M Club, or anyway, it's really interesting when you're homeless that long, you don't even know what you don't even know how to live.
I do want to say too that when it's all going back to meetings when they're doing rooms, like I've seen him do this stuff. I don't know if we have a video on this on here today or not. I know we have some footage of it as well, but I think this is where security and being giving guests like an inconvenience kind of come into mind because you're very persistent. Like, no, I haven't really checked in for this room as somebody's there and they're cleaning it. They don't want you to really complain about them, but it's a huge risk because is that your room? They don't really know. Are they cleaning someone else's room and you just say you want to go in there? Maybe. And a lot of times in some of these cases, there's been some where they have it, but the majority of times, just with a little confidence, and it takes like 30 seconds, the next thing you know, you're in there. And it's just crazy how it works just like that.
Yep, and as I think Henry Ford said, success is 90% masturbation, 10% imagination, or something like that. In any case, once you get access to the rooms, you obtain, even if you don't obtain a skeleton key, that's the most effective way to have legit continued access. But without that, I have some videos on there about the wedge trick. This is fun. You take the little doorstop that says do not disturb, and you just slip it in where it's supposed to close, and it just keeps opening. And then pen trick from Freak Clown, you put it in between there, you wedge it, smashes the thing, and it never actually closes. Like 9 times out of 10, that wedge trick, you go back to that room, and you can still keep it open. It's really funny.
The red wedge.
The red wedge, exactly. That's what I'm calling it. And then observe and report. Like I said, I record everything. I be using this, Dragon Naturally Speaking, to kind of gather telemetry. It'll tell you like access points, Bluetooth. It creates a huge report, especially with AI, like just a bunch of like AI slop, but you can kind of like tune it and make it useful. And better to have the data than not need it, than not having to be up shit creek without a paddle, in the words of Jaybird. Let's see here. And then, of course, you want to provide the report and how to fix it. The funny thing is, I keep going back to Marriott, and they haven't fixed these things. They just want to feel warm and fuzzy, or they'll fix the thing that is easy and not hard. Like, okay, we're not going to replace the card reader, but we're going to make it so that you can't change your name on the reservation after the fact because of me. Great. That's really helpful. Now, 2024, I had 807 hotels. I didn't stay at them, but that's how many I assessed. It's now over 1,200. And like I said, there's a whole video, like 7 minutes you can watch about the prestige going up and the security going into the shitter. For whatever reason, like I said, they just assume that if you're wealthy that you're not a threat. But it makes it a great target too, because if you start breaking into people's rooms, you can steal some really valuable stuff. And of course there's hotel insurance, so it all gets charged off the books. Money's virtual anyway, so who gives a fuck? All right, but I don't really look like a guy with a plan. I'm a joker. My whole thought on this was housing should be a fundamental right, but a hotel actually addresses other areas of insecurity, right? You get food, you get internet, you get laundry, you get facilities. The most important thing is you can use a hotel address to qualify for social services. So Earl was able to get Medicaid and SSI just by putting the hotel. You put room 404. You can do this for future stays as well. You can literally send packages. You can store your luggage for free at hotels. They don't care. You can send anything and everything. That's why I travel pretty light. Just use a hotel address. You can even register a business in a hotel. My company Radzen is registered to the DuPont Hotel in Delaware. So, kiss my black ass. All right. Now, after this video, Jay's like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. You're gonna pilot this. I'm gonna send you on increasingly complicated, interesting challenges that kind of culminated in me at the JW Marriott in DC. Now, if you know about this hotel, it's right across the street from the White House. Diplomats stay there all the time. Obama stayed there, or not Obama, Macron, Angela Merkel, you name it, they've all stayed there. It has the worst security ever. If you go up to the elevator, if you want to go to any floor, you say 15, top floor, go to this elevator, no key card. So I ended up on this mission, not only to get initial access, Jay gives me the manifest. Here's every person staying at this G17 political summit over the next 17th to the whatever. Like, what I want you to do is go in each of the rooms and assassinate, or simulate an assassination. Because think about it, I'm just one dude. What happens if a group of Ocean's 8 level babes rolls through, or a Russian APT group, and they want to take over the hotel? Oh my God, it's so easy. How has it not happened? It probably has, you just don't know about it. Well, now you know, it has happened actually. So I'm in there from February 12th until February 28th. I literally went back from DC to Richmond 3 times, nobody knew. The 28th, I go to the hotel staff, I show them the video. You need to clean up this room because I destroyed it. I took the TV out, I had one hell of a party with strippers and everything else, and I'm like, they couldn't compute. They're looking at the video, they're like, they didn't understand. And so that video then gets to someone very powerful, and who will go nameless unless you talk to me directly. He calls me 10 minutes later. All right, Justin, how do we fix this? What do you want? I said, I want 3 very specific things. I want Ambassador Elite, because that gives you 100% points. Normally to qualify for it, you have to spend 10 years of your life, $23,000 and 100 nights per year. You have to do that every single year. But they will pamper the hell out of you. They give you 24-hour check-in and 24-hour check-out. You get qualified for United Silver Premier, Hertz President's Circle. Again, it's like the rich get richer, right? This is how you create an abundance lifestyle. But of course, I'm going to use this to just keep redistributing the wealth because fuck these corporations. And so I end up just building a playbook for them. This is what they see as valuable. Like I said, you can't define a playbook for security when you have 9,000 properties and you only manage 48 of them, and you have all these disparate brands. Every single hotel is different, across all the brands, you know. But you can at least say, hey, this is what good looks like. So you can't solve that problem, interestingly, but homelessness is pretty easy to solve. How about that? And then, so it only takes like 12 days. I'm thinking I'm gonna shoot it down. Jake Lindo, boss man, he gives it to me. It's literally Pi Day 1 year later. And I'm like, I have an idea. I'm gonna go talk to this guy on the streets. He has a cowboy hat on, pink boots. He's one hell of a character. His name's Earl Jones. I walk up to him and I'm like, he thinks I'm crazy, and I am. But I'm like, I have this idea. I got 3 million points in the bank. That's about 2 months. I want to pilot you in this hotel, and I have a plan. I don't really know what it is, but there's something about you that makes me want to do this. And so he's like, fuck it, let's go. So I put him up in the presidential suite in Richmond on March 14th of 2024, whereas I'm in 404 the whole time, launching guerrilla warfare. And let me tell you more about Earl. He's a hell. Yeah, so he had been homeless for 17 years. He was in and out of housing in Richmond for 8 times, and he's just like, Mr. Justin, fuck that shit. He's like, I don't want to like work welfare to work to have some cockroach-ridden apartment. But what led to this, and the number one cause of homelessness is death of family members. So his mom passed away literally the next day. His wife left him for his best friend, which is really messed up. Then he has a job-related injury working in construction. He couldn't work. He gets denied for workers' comp, and then he ends up being homeless in 2007. And then he just was homeless for 17 years. And like I said, what captivated me was he's a character. He's what I call a critter. If you know people out there that you can't define that are just like interesting, I'm a critter, you're a critter, right? He's a critter. And he just didn't know what to say. But after a couple weeks of him being in this hotel and us hanging out and him shouting at me, he's like, I want to do what you do, Mr. Justin. I want to just like be a hacker. So I just started taking him around everywhere, teaching him what I knew. I started applying to jobs. I used a dead person's identity, synthetic identity theft, and was able to help him apply for jobs. No employment verification, nothing. He was in job interviews, right? Multiple companies, Apple. I'm in the same room with him, if you can imagine. Here's a call. Earl's here on them. What's 7 layers OSI? I'm holding up cue cards, feeding him answers. You know, because he's a genius, but he doesn't know tech. But literally within 2 months, he gets a job offer on May 17th. Oops, this is out of order. But May 17th, he gets a job offer. He's making $70,000 a year after being homeless for 17 years. Crazy. And then he actually got promoted since then, which is crazy. And then over the course of like that year, I'm like, what do you want to do, Earl? He's like, I want to buy a home. I don't want to be on the streets anymore. He's like, I don't want it for me, I want it for other people. So I co-signed for a loan for him. And then he moved out of the Richmond Marriott on December 30th and he moved into his new house. January 3rd, 2025. So, and now, coolest thing about him, I taught him how to be a ghost, and he is. He's actually, last I heard, he's going around with the organization Caritas helping homeless people. Freaking awesome, right? Now, as far as Bonvoy goes, like I said, there's 99 problems and they're all Bonvoy bitches. So there's a couple of interesting ones, and like I said, I'm not gonna delve into the specifics of the shady shit going on that I found out. So I became a Marriott employee officially on April 29th. The whole reason I did that is because I wanted access to the code base. I'm like, I know for a fact that there's vulnerabilities here that I can exploit. Within 6 days, I was in that bitch and I found some stuff that's sketchy as hell, more or less. You can book rooms with fake accounts, service accounts, you can transfer points. Like, I literally had an account at one point 77 months of free nights. So, you know. Anyway, but you can do interesting stuff. Like I said, you can book at prepaid rates and downgrade to the Explore rate. If you have any friends at Marriott, they can get you this thing for the night, like for tonight. If you want to stay at the Residence Inn, it's $72 instead of like 280. You know, just don't abuse it because like I've abused it. Right? People will get fired. So, but here's the craziest thing about Earl. I tell everyone this story. When he left that hotel, he had 876,320 points. He made $876.32 by staying in that hotel for 292 days. He made money by being housed. It's not about the money, it's a message. Just completely, if this doesn't completely disrupt your understanding of homelessness, it needs to. Because everyone's talking about, oh, we can solve this problem by spending money, this, that, and the other. No, they're not being strategic. It's not about the money, it's a message. Like, we need to stop putzing around. We need to force accountability for fucking Marriott to do more, for Elon Musk, all these dicks that can do stuff that they aren't, okay? If I'm just some poor kid from Pennsylvania that can upend the system, then, you know, there's no excuse for this. Nobody should be homeless in 2026, nobody. 404 not found. Yeah, and you save more when you explore. Like I said, this is kind of an example of like, okay, here's the rate for member rate, prepay, non-refundable. Again, you don't actually need a real credit card on file. You can use privacy.com, you can use Capital One Eno. You just need like a credit card with $1 on it. It'll book the rate, and for some odd reason, well, I already know the reason, but I'll tell you about that card. It'll book it, it'll give you 555,000 points, even though they'll call you like, sir, Mr. Bob Jordan, that's what alter egos. We can't book your room. What do you want to do? Or whatever. Oh, I need to explore it. Well, then they'll still give you the points for the 555, which is kind of silly. When I went to Prague and I debuted this talk, that's what I did. And then also, yeah, so funny thing too, there's an ambassadors program that used to be 100% points. It's now 75% because what happened with Marriott accounting, because of me, they ran the numbers and they determined that if they dropped it to 75%, they would have broken even on Earl. For them, it's acceptable to not lose money and to just break even, than for them to like lose money. I thought that was hilarious. So now, sorry guys, if you're an ambassador, you only get 75% points. And you know, there's no 100% point program anymore. So, but the only difference between titanium and ambassador really is you get Hertz 5, whatever it is, 5-star here, or President's Circle versus 5-star. And it's really, it's worth it. But to get titanium, you need 75 points, or like I said, if you do the shortcutting through the Founders Card, you can get it in 20 days. Founders Card is pretty cool. It's for startups and like us. It's like $300 a year, and it gives you like access to all these cool perks programs and stuff. And then you have all these really cool arbitrage programs. Like points are worthless, just like money. Money's virtual, it doesn't exist. If we wiped out the $33 trillion in debt tomorrow, nothing would happen other than prosperity, but don't get me started. So if you move points between different airlines back to rentals, you can literally just arbitrage points and make money off that. You can be a points trader. And you can make money off, like if you want to, and it's not even that hard. It's not like you have to watch the market. You just have to be relentless and have the tism like me and just be obsessed with just like focusing and hammering away, just finding ways to make money off points. And that's legitimate. You don't need Marriott access to do that. Oh shit. And that's it. That's long and short of it.
Yeah, I got something I want to say about Earl's story too. I think, you know, that whole thing really turned into something I don't think either of us could have really imagined what it was. You know, the homeless people in Richmond where we're from, there's not, you know, they have options if you want to start trying to build a foundation, but the longer you're homeless and live like that, the problems just become insurmountable almost. They just like from the outside looking in, it's like, all right, yeah, they can probably get you some kind of housing, you know, maybe you can stay at the Salvation Army for a little while, get on your feet. There's a couple other places around there that do work, but you know, it really is a system, you know, set up to just kind of keep them always in one place. The thing that stood out to me most with this was once this guy had a stable foundation, somewhere, you know, safe he could lay his head at night, somewhere he could take a shower, you know, somewhere he could have food. It's like, you know, it opened him up to really do things that even he never really thought were possible. And it was really just the start of having that foundation. So what was just crazy was just the trajectory. And once he did that, with the job that Justin helped him get as well, to eventually owning his own home. I mean, within less than a year. That is honestly just an insane story to me. I think, you know, if that is the power that could have over one person's life, you know, could hotels really do this and pitch in to help kind of solve this problem for us? Because there's places that have bigger homeless problems than Richmond, Virginia. I know that. We do have such a, we do have an issue with as well. And, you know, I think, you know, just like it goes back to, I think, you know, the system kind of just keeps them like kind of at that area. But, you know, in the end, you know, we're all people. We could all benefit from this in some kind of way. I do want to say too, you know, working alongside Justin on this project has been one of the more rewarding things I've done in this field. A lot of times, especially as security and red team, you know, we focus on breaking things. A lot of this is more about making a change, actually putting some things back together in regards to homelessness. I think it's just a very powerful message with this whole talk. And I think when you can directly impact somebody and change their life, you know, it's something that everybody can learn from. And I think that's what this project did for me and did for us and did for Earl as well. Hopefully it can keep going into something a little bigger. So thank you guys for sitting in here with us. If anybody has any questions, we'll be up here.
There's a couple of shout outs to, like, yeah, Earl Jones, inspirational. My network of TTPs, I call them, Babes, Titanium, Turbo Babe Princesses. This is Justinism. Ariana, Brianna, Carly, Cassandra, Christina, Renee, PJ, I love you. Also, Cloaked is a great service if you haven't heard of it. It lets, the company bought 1 billion voice over IP numbers, and they let you create different identities. And so you can use that to like hack points and shit, you know, and like it doesn't come up as a shared number. It's freaking awesome. It's like $100 a year. I have an enterprise account. Hit me up. I'll send you an invite. Hack5, you all probably know them. They have all kinds of physical attack tools. You know, Bash Bunny, Pack and Squirrel. I love the screen grab. That shit is scary. You put it behind like a TV, and you put like ITUs. It intercepts between HDMI and it sends it to the cloud. I've been top secret. Like meetings have been happening with the CFO, and he just say, "Oh my shit," because what are you gonna do? And then iCopyX, Flipper Zero, for cloning. Like the point is, like there's a lot of technological attacks here, but most of this was layer 8, was social engineering. You know, like get it. That's the thing. When you're in a layer 8, you can compromise the layers below it. That's why there's so many attacks that are focused on people. And then Keyse's great. I don't know if you have it with me, but it's like a high frequency credential thing. It's $50 that lets you store 4 different credentials on there. Flipper Zero, you all know. And there's the playlist. Like I said, there's all kinds of videos and shenanigans. They should check out. And PJ Chagger, she's one of my Turbo Babes. She did the deck design. And this is her link. I'm going to redirect you guys on IO to it, which is amazing. And yeah, that's really, I think that's it. Yeah, so thank you so much. Questions, comments, concerns? This is what happened at prom. It's done.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Yes.
Have you ever been thwarted? Was there a front desk agent who stopped you, who saw through you? Was there a person that was doing everything right and was able, I worked in a hotel, I was a front desk agent, so I'm thinking back, I always hoped that I was vigilant,
Good
but
question.
I'm curious if anybody has.
This actually happened 2 days ago at the Hilton, only because all the TVs went missing. They're like, there's this guy who's sketchy as hell. I tried to go back the next day, I definitely was pushing my luck, and I went up to the lady, I was like, I was supposed to check out. She's like, I need to call security, and I just ran, because I totally knew it was me. So, I wasn't contracting that job. But the lady, interestingly enough, the only people that actually do this well are the ones at like the 3-star hotels and below. We stayed at the Spring Hill Suites, the lady came in, she checked the ID, like, it's at her mom, like, this big, like, there's no security at prestigious hotels, but like the Residence Inn, the Spring Hill Suites, the Fairfield, those are the ones I like too, because I'm like, they get free breakfast. Like, I feel uncomfortable at the Ritz-Carlton. They just come and start kissing my feet and giving me champagne. It's weird. So, but yeah, it's a hard problem to solve, right? It only takes one person to get in, and there's maids on every floor, and it's like, you know how it is with security. It's like, if you can't go in the front door, you just do a side channel attack. You know, you come in through another. So, yeah, that's cool that you work there. Yeah.
When it comes to the law, have you been charged and have you avoided charges?
You need an indemnification clause, so you need to get a jail-free card. I have.
This is always as part of a test, as part of a red team test.
Yeah, yeah. In general, yeah, you want to have terms of engagement. You go renegade rogue on this thing, Rambo, and do so at your own peril. But I was contracted under Marriott to do this. I was prepared. I've outrun cops. I had to stay in air vents for 4 hours to avoid. Like, I've done this crazy shit. I've never been caught. But you always have a paper. The sad reality, though, is that, like, I'm a white dude. If I were anyone else, I probably would have been shot. You know what I mean? And so, like, just know that this is high stakes. I'm getting out of this. I'm actually probably going to transition it to my soon-to-be wife, because she's really good at her. She's a turbo baby. But anyway, I'm trying to focus on academia and quantum security, which is really my background. But yeah, make sure you do within the letter of the law, like anything.
Question here,
Yeah.
have you ever done a two-layer, got out of jail free card?
2-layer.
Where you give them the fake one?
Oh.
Complete bullshit first.
We were just talking about that. We were talking about that for the Hilton, because we're like, we're not supposed to be here right now. That's actually great.
That's so funny, so
Thank you for the reminder.
So I'll take that as a no.
No, I do. That's actually brilliant. I like you. Let's hang out. Yeah, seriously, we were just talking like, okay, how do we, because you know, so much of everything is just like, get a doctor, anything. It's just trust, and it's like, yeah, I mean, fake IDs. I have an ID for Boyd Fowler, Bob Jordan, like, you know, Rock Vendors, Carl Hungus, you know, whatever. So, appreciate you all. Thanks so much. If you want to hit me up after, I got my QR code, and I can teach you more tricks. And yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you all for being here.
Sorry, I wasn't here to intro you.
Oh, that's like, yeah, right.
How did it go? I think my phone died.
The hot thing is they have their own checkers and mics set up.
Yeah.
But this guy flooded out like they just use part of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So like the
Yes.
it worked, right?
Yeah, is it good?
Too dead. I'm like,
We can do our own.
I'm glad you did. Did you get your own one? I enjoyed every bit of it. Yeah, no, I
I worked at a high-end.
Yeah.
So when we would have our tier members,
Yeah.
they're pretty good on making us check IDs, but like oftentimes they just have us go to the person and recognize their face.
Yeah.
So like it's just there's so many things that are so
I was following your reference. I caught the tape. That broke my heart. I said, okay. That's far enough.
It's because you're asking hourly employees to be vigilant, but still give the white glove touch to the right people.
We're like
It's the interesting part is because like when I was in hotel, we would never allow anybody to go to the room that's not the house. And I'm wondering if still somebody managed to do that. Because even housekeepers know, like, if I'm still cleaning this room, nobody's been allowed to check into it. And it's just a matter of, I got a Hyatt, there's different hotels, franchise hotel, it wasn't operated by her.
Yeah.
We had our own system, but it was so
Or that it's your own room. Because it's, there's sometimes, you know, like if we did it still in. Yeah, no, yeah, no, need you to be in here, just leave, yeah. See this person either comes or goes upstairs. What do you think? And then you go. Wait, I always thought. I don't think so, it's only good. Yeah, you just slide it in. Really? Oh, wow, okay. Yeah, and it opens up, yeah. I mean, you just- Yeah, the latch, or the, yeah, or the strike or whatever, yeah, this is.
What's going on? I got it done. Good. This conference is super cool. What's your plan? Are you gonna stay over tonight, or? I'm going back to Richmond like soon. Yeah. But I appreciate you coming all the way. We should go get your swag on the second floor. Have you seen the vendors? The vendors have all kinds of swag. Yeah, go check it. I got a bunch of them. I'll meet you up there in a little bit, alright?
Yeah, or like a regular Richmond. One guy cut himself open with his lines. I had to manage his seats.
Did he say that?
No, but I think it was on the vacation upstairs, meeting all of our lobbies.
Yeah, Justin, is this yours?
Oh, yeah, that is
Powder all over.
I think it's so interesting because we're trained in the hotel business, you have to be vigilant and you are the first line of security for a lot of these things because of criminal badges. But you're also trained to ignore the rules for the right people.
Yeah.
For the people with the high tier statuses, you're trained to ignore the rules for
So
them.
messed up.
So you can, there's so much exploitation that can be done. And we had people who stayed in the hotel without paying a dime for 4 months, trashing the room. It was a whole family.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
These sometimes they really, you just, there's a power button.
Oh.
Click that.
As a security person, you kind of, you have to, as a security head, you have to do that. It's like an inconvenience with security for somebody who they're trying to